questions tonight. We had a guest speaker, Jimmy, how do you pronounce his name?
It's going to be James
James
Bugella.
Bugella was supposed to come. He was a golf course commissioner, but he had a family crisis at the last minute. But he sent us a statement, and we're going to read it, and then we'll talk about it. Alex?
All right, here's the statement. My name is James Bugella from 136 Elton Road. I am on the Golf Commission. We spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on our football field, baseball fields, and tennis courts. But we don't spend nearly enough on our town's biggest asset, Timberland Park. Our high school boys and girls teams are regularly state champs. They need a larger practice facility. And it's not just them. The junior programs are filled to capacity. Berlin has a large men and women's senior league and local leagues every Monday through Thursday. There is many different functions that bring the town together. From mixed doubles to night golf, we have the design and length for state qualifying tournaments. But we're passed over because of the practice range and facilities. Timberland draws a lot of non-residents that spend their dollars here. I also think that we should be utilizing the park 12 months a year. What are your thoughts, Sam?
You know what? James is absolutely correct. You know, back in the 90s, the golf course was featured on Golf Magazine. It was a premium golf course, premium golf
It was
course.
on a magazine?
Yeah, it was like, at the time we had a mayor
Yep.
and a board of finance. We didn't have a council. And the golf course was managed under Park and Rec.
Yep.
And there was a lot of commitment made to the golf course by both the mayor and the board of finance. And I was on the board of finance at the time.
Yep.
And what we did was that we made sure that the golfers got what they to build this golf course, but also the park side. There is a park side there. It's got
There
a
is.
pond, a gazebo, that has been neglected for years now. It's been,
Timberland Park.
yes, Timberland Park.
Yep.
And people use these facilities, and they go there in the summer. They picnic. Kids try to go and fish in that pond. I think it was stocked a few times. I'm not sure it's been stocked like this year or the year before. I'm not sure. And you see a lot of walkers. A lot of people walk there and exercise. And in the wintertime, remember we talked about it. They do cross country skiing there.
Yep.
On the golf side, the council established the golf course commission the past few years. I think it's been about 3 years.
3 years.
The problem with the golf course commission is that we have a mayor in office that really doesn't really take an active interest. I mean, what I understand, he goes to some meetings, but you got to rely on what the golf commission wants on the golf course.
Right.
You got to give the golf commission a little leeway because they know what we need in a golf course. And we've got a great asset. We've got a wonderful golf pro. And then instead, at one point, I think it was about, 5-6 months ago, the mayor had this crazy idea that he was going to hire this company to come in there and tell us what's wrong or how to fix the golf course. And he was going to hire this company. I mean, this is crazy. Of a young kid, his father was going to set up this consultant company for this young kid out of college. He had no experience whatsoever in the golf course, and they taunted it was free. And it didn't work out. I mean, they never ended up doing it because the golf course commission was totally against it. Because the so-called consultant didn't know anything to do about golf. That was the mayor's idea.
Yeah.
And instead of talking to a golf pro and ask the golf pro, hey, how can we improve this?
Right.
And one of the main things I think that we need, and Jimmy and I approached the mayor and the town manager about 2 years ago. We thought a driving range, an all-year-round driving range, would have been an asset to the golf course.
Yeah.
And we were going to figure out that we were going to do a revenue bond for the driving range, which a revenue bond is that the driving range would pay for itself. It would be no expense to taxpayers in this community.
Right.
And if you drive to Stanley Park, Stanley Golf Course, you see this wonderful driving range which pays for itself. It's heated. You put your credit card in there, and the golf balls come out. So you really don't need anybody there. The only thing you need is this guy drives a machine to pick up the golf balls. I mean, that's all you need. and it's open all year round. And by keeping it open all year round, gets the golfers to go there even in the wintertime because it's heated.
Right.
And it pays for itself. But obviously, there was no action taken. And this is the problem with this administration. The problem with this administration, you have people from all boards and commissions, they all have different ideas. And these ideas are to improve the town. But if the ideas aren't decided either by the mayor or somebody on the council, they disregard the idea. You know, a couple of years back, Jerry and I had another idea. We said, let's do a winter festival there. This winter festival is going to be really great for the golf course and great for the community. Because the town pays taxes on the golf course. So let's get the community involved in the golf course. So we decided we're going to approach the council. It was in October, I think it was about a year and a half ago. It's we want to do a winter festival there, and I spoke about it at the council. And I said, we want to build an ice rink at the golf course for the winter, possibly this winter season. And I had to call Chris Edge, and I gave Chris Edge the idea, so here's some numbers, how much it costs to build this. So he was working on the numbers. And the council just dragged their feet. And this winter festival would have been ice skating on in the weekends.
Yep.
Getting the kids involved, get the LP kids to run it, and get it more of a community atmosphere. And I talked to Renzi about it. Renzi, who manages the restaurant, was really excited about it because it was going to bring people there and do some concerts. But again, the council and the mayor missed the boat. And this is why I'm running for mayor. I'm running for mayor because, Alex, you got to have all different types of ideas.
Of course.
And a successful mayor is going to sit down and talk to their commission members. Like I would talk to the golf course commission, their chairman. We would open the lines of communication and we would say, what does the golf course need? And let's see if we can work it out. I'm not saying you're going to get it in 1 year.
Right.
But we could plan it out and schedule it out that it could happen. Then talk to the chairman of the Board of Finance, who controls that Board of Finance, because usually the chairman of the board is the decide and vote. It's a 3-3, so somebody's got to go on the other side and work it out with the mayor. And it's going to be, because that's how it was done in the past. And this is where Mr. Kaczynski doesn't understand. This is where his failure is as mayor. You know, if you look at successful mayors of the past, and we could go Democrat, Republicans. I mean, before we had the council.
Right.
We had Bob Peters, who was the mayor for years. We had Arthur Powers, who was mayor for years. Each mayor had to work with the chairman of the Board of Finance. And the chairman of the Board of Finance was Doc McIntosh, probably the most hardest chairman you've ever met. But they compromised. They sat down, they talked about it. And if Bob Peters or Arthur Powers wanted something, a program, he would call up the chairman and say, let's work it out. But with Kaczynski, it's not that way, and that's not how you run government.
Right.
And you got to be able to compromise, you got to work together. And this is the problem with the golf course, and that's why the Golf Course Commission feels frustrated, because they've been promised things and it just doesn't happen.
Now, Sam, I'm hearing a lot of stuff about making improvements to the golf course, adding things, renovations. Now, I think that these are great ideas, but I could see how some people out there might worry them, because they're thinking, oh, the town's going to spend all this money.
Definitely.
Now, the golf course brings in revenue, right?
The golf course, since the pandemic, has made a tremendous amount of money since the pandemic. We were open during the pandemic all year round, and it hasn't stopped. The golf course is very busy. And I know the community do get nervous because obviously we don't want our taxes to increase at all and to renovate. But if you have a plan, you know the funny thing about it, Alex, this will make you laugh. The council a few years back had a 10-year capital plan.
10-year, okay.
10-year capital plan, which meant that we're going to put all these things and we're going to do it in 10 years. And it had steps, we'll do it. And it had the years, we're going to do it this way. So the council voted on it a few years back, and the mayor talked about it. I mean, he talked about it 2 years ago. He campaigned on that. It says, oh, we did a 10-year capital plan. The problem is the mayor's never followed the 10-year capital plan, and that was our problem on the Board of Finance. We used to say, the mayor never follows the 10-year capital plan, so we just threw it away. And I know that, tonight they'll probably tweet something, or the
Yeah.
mayor probably will have a video tomorrow and say, I've done the 10-year capital plan, because
Yeah.
that's his style. And I'm being sarcastic and not negative. Let's hope everybody understands that.
Yeah.
But the fact it is, and the golf course renovation is on the 10-year capital plan, but you got to follow the 10-year capital
Of course.
plan. So if you follow it, you're not going to have a lot of, it won't be an effect on your taxes. People, the golf course could be a really major asset to the town.
Yeah.
And if you put a driving range and you have a vibrant restaurant where people could go there and
Definitely.
enjoy themselves, with banquet facilities where they could have little weddings or little bar mitzvahs or
Yeah.
baptisms, it'll bring in revenue to the town, and that's what we need.
Yeah.
And plus, it brings community together, and that's what we lack in this town. We lack a mayor with a vision that doesn't give us that community spirit. So, no, I'm excited about doing something with the golf course commission. I am very excited about it.
Wow. Sounds like a good idea, good plan.
Yeah, it sounds like, we have to
Yeah,
implement it.
yeah. I mean, it's something I'd be looking forward to. Something I would love to have as a resident in Berlin.
And if you take a ride to the golf course in the summertime, fall,
Mm-hmm.
and you see the amount of people there, not just older guys
Yeah.
my age, okay?
Yep.
I'm talking, and Jimmy's right. You got the junior league, young
Mm-hmm.
kids out there learning how to play golf. You got the high school boys and girls golf teams that go over there and practice.
Mm-hmm.
And you see a different variety of ages, and that brings everything together. So, yeah, the golf course is an asset for the community at all ages, and if you really want to learn how to play golf, that's the place to go.
Now, I got a question here.
Yes, go ahead.
Is the golf course at risk to being sold to a private entity?
Well, this is another funny story.
Yep.
And the mayor, of course, is going to say it never happened, but it did happen.
Okay.
Okay? They weren't going to, they explored the avenue this year of either privatizing the whole golf course or maybe selling its interest out, because there's certain members on the council, and I'm not going to name them,
Yep.
because they'll deny it, and really find the golf course not an asset. And then somebody informed the corporation council and the town manager that we can never sell the golf course, because when it was built by Arthur Powers, it
Yes.
was built with federal funds. And in the document, it said if we ever sell the golf course, we would have to pay the federal grants back.
Oh, wow,
So
okay.
we can't sell it.
Yeah.
So, I
So
mean,
that's not happening.
So there
Gotcha.
was a discussion, and then the mayor backpedaled on it and said that they never really talked about it.
Yeah.
But they did talk about it. Would they have implemented it? I doubt they would have
Right.
implemented it. I think it was just talk. So I'm going to give the mayor a pass on that. I think that,
Gotcha.
it's the job of the council to spitball ideas.
Right.
So they spitball an idea, and everybody went crazy, but at the end of the day, the golf course is secure, and I don't care who
Good.
gets elected, no one's going to close the golf course.
Good, good. Got you. What kind of other events can the town host at Timberland? Is there any limitations to what we could do? there?
Right, there are right now, because of the facility, the restaurant facility, I think it's got to be about 50 years old. It needs,
wow.
it needs renovation.
Yeah.
And of course, that's part of the 10-year plan, and which has never been implemented.
Yeah.
And we have a very good operator of the restaurant, Ramsey. He could handle anything, but I think they have this tent outside, which they do some small activities, maybe they
Yeah.
do a shower or something, and or they'll have a meet in there, but once the winter comes, it's pretty much closed down for the winter. So it's not a year-round like other towns
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a great revenue maker for a town that could even bring in substantial revenue for the town, for us to do other things, reinvest into the community.
Part of my economic plan is that I want to bring different types of businesses in town.
Yep.
And I'm targeting communication type of businesses, internet type of businesses,
Yeah.
startup type of businesses. That's going to be my primary target, really, and
Yeah.
I think we can do it. And the golf course will be an asset with some of these executives that will move into town, because they could do their business while playing golf. They could have their associates come from other parts of the state, stay at our hotels in the Burlington Pike, because we do have some new hotels in the Burlington Pike.
Yep.
And they could be part of the golf community. We could also have golf tournaments on, statewide, because a lot of companies have golf tournaments.
Yep.
So we be in the race for golf tournaments, will bring revenue to town, because they'll play the golf, they'll go to restaurants. So
Yep.
yeah, it is a big revenue maker.
Wow. Now, the park at Timberland Park, or Timberland Golf Course, what can we do there? Does it need improvement?
Yeah,
Is it
you know
where
what, we
are?
need to, we have this pond that probably needs to be cleaned, which we probably can get some grants there. We have a gazebo, it's probably, it's old.
Yeah,
And you know what, if we could spend a little money, maybe get some grants and clean it up a little bit, that's not, the council has to deal with other boards and commissions to get
Yeah.
that permission to do that. So it's a little complicated, but if we could work out and communicate with some boards and commissions that control that area, maybe we can do something. So, I mean, right now, people, it's really a walking area where people walk and exercise, and during the pandemic, when the gyms are closed, people would go to the golf course and do their walk and exercise.
Right.
So, there's a lot of things we could do in that park area, but you need a little vision to do it, and it's not gonna happen overnight.
definitely.
Because it's looking at a long-term plan, and again, that's part of the 10-year plan. Everything is a long-term plan. You gotta have a plan to succeed in the community.
Yep.
And that's what my campaign is all about. My campaign is all about planning for the future. I'm not gonna say it's gonna happen this year or next year, but if you stick with your plan, you stick for the future, and you elect candidates for mayor that think about the future, not think about the past,
Yeah.
and talk about what they've done in the past, but let's talk about what we're gonna do in the future. And that's what my candidacy is all about. If you follow my candidacy,
Yes.
and you follow me for 4 years on the Board of Finance, I always talk about the future. I'm not the type of guy that's gonna fight the battles of the past.
Yeah.
The past is the past.
Yeah.
Let's move the town forward, and we're going into 21st century, middle of the 21st century now. It's time to move the town forward, because
Yes.
if we don't move the town forward,
Yep.
then we're not going to attract the businesses that we need to sustain our tax growth.
Yes.
Because the Smith, and this is where the mayor, again,
Yep.
this, and certain members of the Republican Town Committee, they have this idea that you could keep taxes as a zero increase. And we've done it for 2 years, the Board of Finance, and let me tell you something, it was difficult to do. It wasn't easy to do.
Yep.
And this myth that you can just keep on doing that and neglecting the future of this town, someday it's gonna catch up.
Of course.
And what it's gonna do is your taxes are gonna go substantially.
Yep.
And it's the same thing with the mayor. The mayor taunts about it's 85, or, 1 year it's 85, 2 years ago, God, it was like 75. So the number changes every year.
Yep.
Out of town or went out of business, because you don't have a long-term plan to sustain these businesses.
Yeah.
And that's what you need. I mean, that's great that you brought 85 businesses. I give him a lot of credit. Congratulations.
Right.
But what I want to know, what he did to bring these businesses in, because at the end of the day, it's Chris Edge. People don't give Chris Edge enough credit.
Yeah,
Chris
good point.
Edge is on the phone every single day with the limited amount of resources
Yeah.
he has.
Yep.
And he derives the interest of these businesses that come down in
Yeah.
town. It's not that the mayor gets on the phone, the mayor's not on the phone all day long and talks to, whatever, Mr. Joe Smith, oh, please move your company in town. No, the mayor, no mayor is gonna do that.
Right.
A volunteer mayor. I mean, no, it's Chris Edge. But if you read the mayor's, Kaczynski's pamphlet or whatever he says constantly in his videos, that he does it, no, you gotta give staff credit.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. Chris Edge, I talked to Chris Edge a couple of days ago, and I said, Chris, if I do get elected, I want to have lunch with you the next day of the election,
course.
because I want to know what you're working on, and I want to give you some ideas, and I want to know what you need, so we can put in the budget and ask the Board of Finance, because I've got ideas to move this town forward. And he said, if you win, let's talk.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Chris Edge is a vital part of our community. He definitely does a lot for us.
100%.
Yeah. Now, you were talking about having events and opening the golf course year-round. What kind of winter events could we do there?
Well, we could, if we get snow, cross-country skiing, I mean, you see
Yeah.
the people there. When we have major snowstorms, people are there cross-country skiing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a winter festival there this year, because
Yep.
I talked to Jimmy, who's part of the golf course commission, and I talked to Chris Edge about it briefly a few days ago on the phone. I said, if I get elected, that's gonna be priority number one. So the day after the election, I'm gonna start working on this. Yeah, I wanna hit the ground running, before the 16th, when I take my oath in office.
Yep.
So I wanna set the foundation up, so on the 16th, we can appropriate and ask the Board of Finance what type of funds we need to appropriate to do this skating rink. So I'm not gonna wait. So if I am fortunate enough to get elected,
Yeah.
and the people agree with me on my vision for the town of Berlin, on the 3rd, I'm gonna be on the phone with the town manager, with Chris Edge, we'll have a conference call, and I'm gonna start working the details with the golf course commission to work the details to get this done immediately, because I really want it to happen here Christmas week. I think that'll be a great time to have this festival, winter festival, and I visualized it in my mind already, how it was gonna work, and it's gonna be excellent. And that's what, you know what? That's what a mayor does.
Yeah.
And I don't want to repeat myself, but we think about the future.
Brings the community together for
Brings
the
the
future.
community together, and that's what we need in this town. And I visualize kids coming there and saying, I really do, I really hope this would happen. I really do.
That's what I like about you, Sam. Not only are you thinking of what's happening now and managing it, you're also thinking of our future, how we could be better in the future, how we could prosper.
You know, the town of Berlin has a long history.
Yeah.
We're a great town. We've had great mayors. I mean, you take Arthur Powers, for example, who's been mayor for 20 years. When he took over in this town, we had dirt roads.
Yeah.
We didn't have Timberland. We didn't have Sage. And look what happened. He had the vision for the future. Look, 50 years later, where are we? We're talking about the golf course. Sage is another park that we need to do some work on.
Yep.
That's our primary park where all sports activities are done. And if you go to other towns and you see what they have, and you say, why can't Berlin have? So these are the things we have to plan for the future. It's not gonna happen.
Yep.
But all this stuff, people are gonna get scared and say this costs money. But if you bring the businesses in, I'm talking about the kind of businesses that are gonna increase our tax base,
Yeah.
then we're not gonna have any effect on our mill rate. Because the fact is, it's our responsibility as elected officials to make sure our mill rate is as low as possible and not overtax the people. And that was my job on the Board of Finance. I made sure that we don't overtax the people.
Yeah.
But you gotta bring these companies in. You can't tax the small business people.
Right.
A tremendous amount of money.
Right.
It's because if you do, those 85 businesses the mayor constantly brags every single day of his life are gonna move out of town.
Right.
And we don't have those statistics, how many companies move out of town because our taxes are too high. So being mayor, it's a balancing act. You've gotta get the businesses in town. You gotta make sure that we have a community activity, but you gotta also make sure that we take care of every citizen in this town, that they don't overpay in taxes. That is a priority of a good mayor.
Yep.
And so if you do your job, it's all gonna work out at the end.
Sounds good. I got another question for you, Sam. Is it true that the golf course must turn a profit in the town charter?
You know what, I don't know. That's a good question. It's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna tell you the truth, I can't really give you that answer, because we never talked about it on the Board of Finance. That's a very good question, which, I'll get that answer for our next Facebook meeting. I will call the town hall on that.
Yeah.
Because we never really discussed that is it true that the golf course hasn't turned into if somebody's online that can give you an answer, then fine, but I think the golf course does turn a profit. It's an accounting situation, the rumors have that the golf course loses money every year. It's how you add it in your ledger. But I do know that the golf course has made money for 2 years, but can I give you that answer? I can't give you any answer.
Yep.
So if we get, fine. Look who's here.
We got our special guest star
Okay,
coming.
we're gonna have, do we have any more questions?
We do have one more, coming in from Tina Dole.
Okay.
Tina is mentioning she wants to come together as a community, regardless of party affiliation. She seeks vision and strategic vision for community services, infrastructure, and education. She she also mentions that she wants to celebrate diversity in Boone. Hashtag. What do you think of, how do we celebrate diversity in Berlin, Sam?
We celebrate diversity by coming together.
Yeah,
And, you know, and the good example is how the mayor ran his, mayor ran his campaign. That doesn't include diversity, it doesn't include bringing people together.
Yes.
The mayor chose to run his campaign on a negative level.
Yep.
He had two very bad advertisements against me. The first
Very
one,
harsh.
he made
Yep.
me look like a monster or something, and the second one was in the Citizen, and the picture
Yeah.
was a monster. And that's not how you bring diversity, that's not how you bring together.
Right.
And the mayor should be ashamed of himself. But on the other hand, really, the mayor doesn't really know what diversity means. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, he doesn't know what the word diversity, because if he understood what diversity meant, that he wouldn't have done that, and he owes people an apology.
Yeah.
And you can see the type of campaign that I'm running. My campaign is for the whole community.
right,
My campaign is to bring people together.
for the people.
And I ended my campaign together on a positive note in the Citizen with my vision for the town, and the mayor ended his campaign today on negativity.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do have a problem with that.
You have a good point. This kind of negativity and viciousness is not something I'd like to see in Berlin.
Said, and I don't know why he chose to be that way. And you know what? No, I do know why.
Why?
When you don't have a plan for the future, when you can't run on anything,
Yeah,
because if you listen to the mayor's campaign, he runs on 85 businesses that he's done, and just visualize that he blames, you know, the housing authority, for example, where he ran a tape and he said, we couldn't do housing because of the legislature. He's
Right.
always blaming somebody. The mayor blames everybody.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter, when you don't have a campaign plan, you don't have a plan for the future, what do you turn? You turn negative. That's what
point.
he's did. All right, so
right.
we have a guest speaker here. We have somebody who's going to come here. To talk about, just give us a little feedback on housing, senior housing. I think it's an important issue. The mayor did a video on senior housing. I talked to Mrs. Gombauts, who's the Commissioner of Aging, but I asked Mr. Bajorski if he could come up here, because he's the commissioner, he's the
Coming up.
chairman of the Housing Authority, and he can give us a feedback on where we're at on senior housing. Just have a seat, Joe. It was nice seeing you, Joe.
Nice seeing
This is
you.
Peter. Peter's our guy.
Peter, nice meeting you.
nice to
He
meet you.
handles all the questions, but I'm glad to have you here because I think it's important about talking about senior housing.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity
Thank you.
to at least get our side of the story
Yeah,
out.
that's right.
I know my name has been battered
Mentioned
around this
all over.
past week
has.
regarding housing, and I know there's been some statements made, and I just wanted to make sure that the Housing Authority's side of the story gets out.
And that's why I
appreciate-
asked you to
I
come.
appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. Basically, this project started back in 2011.
Well, explain where the project is.
Well, the project right now is in the process of being financed, so,
No, but tell us where it is.
Knights of Columbus property, that's on 143 Percival Avenue
Okay.
in the Kensington section.
Yep.
Basically, that property, the town acquired way back when from the Knights of Columbus after they decided they were no longer in the landowning business. That was cobbled together with another 5 acres that the town owned from the soccer field construction. And basically, back in 2011, the town approached the Housing Authority about using that site for additional senior housing. We jumped at it, but as you're well aware from the development side, nothing takes, months. In real estate development, it takes a while.
Yep.
So reviewing the file today, we acquired the property through an option agreement back in 2011. It took us a year just to get money to go ahead and design the project. We did not secure funding for that pre-development until 2012. From that point forward, design, permitting, this was a special permit process. We had to go through some additions and deletions of the zoning code because the zoning code really didn't meet what we were looking to do with the site. So we had to revise the zoning code. That was a process. So the whole permitting process took about 2 years on top of the initial securing of funds. So to date, we've secured about $350,000 worth of pre-development funds to design this project. We're at 40% drawings right now. The architect is working towards 60% drawings. We should have those completed by November 10th. I just got an email yesterday saying that, in his terms, they're going to drop pencils on November 10th.
Okay.
So the project should be, at 60%. We're not going to get to 90% until probably earlier next year in 2022 as financing gets wrapped up and we can move closer to construction.
Yep.
We are currently, so basically going back to the
Right.
process, once the property was approved for the construction of this project, and we started moving forward on getting financing, we ran into a problem. And that problem was that the portion of land the town gave to us was conserved via an easement from the state of Connecticut. The money that was used to acquire a soccer field and some other open space land, the state put a lien on 13 properties, and they call it conservation easement, a lien. But it prevented the transfer of the title to any other entity. The town had to maintain that property under its ownership. So that created a little bit of an issue. And that little issue probably took 2 or 3 years to resolve.
Yeah.
We came up with the concept of a land lease, and basically the state of Connecticut DEP has signed off on the land lease. We still don't have the actual lease at this point in time. It's on a commissioner's desk waiting for full signature, but we're told that it's coming. So, and that was through the efforts of, the mayor and Mr. Mahoney to kind of get that to that point. And Joe Simwitz also had a role to play in that prior to his leaving office. He facilitated meetings with the DEP commissioner to kind of figure out a workaround for this lien. So once that was resolved, we decided to move forward on financing. During the interim time, the Department of Housing decided in the state of Connecticut that they really wanted to fund affordable housing projects and stay away from age-restricted affordable. So this project right now is a age-restricted affordable housing project. We are, under the purview of the town zoning permit, which, requires us to go with age-restricted. So we had to find a workaround for that funding. Department of Housing has 2 financing packages. It's called a 9% tax credit and a 4% tax credit. The 9% tax credit has a scoring system in place. So when we put our application together, various components of the project require certain points be awarded. And at the end of the day, you calculate all the points, and if you're at 70 points, you get the money. If you're below 70, you get the money.
Yep.
And unfortunately, because we were age restricted, we were deducted points. Enough points to drop us below a 70 score, which prevented us from using the 9% tax credit. So that created a whole slew of other issues that we had to then overcome. We recently brought on, in January of this year, as a matter of fact, we recently brought on Maynard Road Development out of Meriden, Rob Capoletti. He's our development consultant on this project. He has moved forward in securing private financing. He's also moved forward on securing, for lack of a better term, Green New Deal financing, and I'll get to that because I'm very excited about that. So, and we were moving, instead of going for the 9% tax credit, we've decided to move forward on the 4% tax credit. Now, the 4% tax credit is as of right. So what that basically translates to is we file the application, it's just similar to a bank mortgage. Once we meet with CHAFA and DOH, they will underwrite our application. They might have questions, we might have to provide additional information for them. But based on that, they will provide us the monies that will get us to 100% of what we need to construct the project. So between the private financing and the 4% tax credit, we are where we need to be to move forward on the finance. As I spoke at the council meeting on the 19th, they have a projected schedule right now that we should be able to close on everything in the first half of 2022, first quarter, thereabouts. That's predicated, of course, on the ground lease being provided, getting the financing in place. But if everything's done, then we should be good to go for the first half of 2022, and we should be able to break ground, probably towards the latter half of 2022. So
That sounds exciting.
It is. It is. I think it's important, because as chairman of the Housing Authority, I deal with a small
You do.
component of the town.
Yeah.
So I think venues like this are important to get our message out
Well,
as to where this stands, because certain people, have their version of events as they occurred, and they don't have a full understanding of the whole picture. And I think, being afforded this opportunity to talk to the public is important.
Well, and that, if I'm elected for mayor, I want to do things like this all the time and invite the chairman of the Housing Authority or other chairmen to come in and discuss what's going on, because, rumors fly around town
Correct.
that you're not doing your job or this and that. And I think it's important for the townspeople to find out, you're doing your job and you're working. There's been a lot of hurdles. And the fact that we're trying to overcome the hurdles.
Yes.
And that's why it's taken a long time for the Housing Authority, and I know the mayor blamed the legislature or whatever, but at the end of the day, you're the one that's working on it,
Correct.
and you have to solve the hurdles.
Correct.
Right.
And like any other development, I look at
That's right.
404 Berlin Turnpike. I mean, that process has been, it just started construction, but that's been in the approval process for 3-4
That's
years
right.
now.
It's the
So,
same thing.
a lot of people that aren't in the development industry
That's
or
right.
real estate industry don't understand the amount of time that's taken to get a building up. They see the shovels go in the ground, they see the sticks fly up.
Yeah. Doesn't happen.
And they don't see all the work that goes into getting that to
Yeah.
that stage.
And you're talking about a lot of money. I mean.
Correct. The total project right now, and again, this is a estimated guess.
Right.
It's not an actual hard number. We're getting a contractor to give us a hard number on the project based on design work. But right now, you're looking at $33 million.
That's what I'm saying. So it's
And
not-
that's including design work and
That's right. It's
legal
a lot of
fees
money.
and stuff like that.
Not-
It's not a small sum of cash.
Now, do you, like, senior housing, I talked to Mrs. Gombach. She's a commissioner of agents, she
Yes.
knows. So we have approximately 50 or 60 people on the waiting list, am I correct?
There's 50 people right now.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, as our population is aging, do you think we should plan for the future and think about building more senior housing?
So
we
here
don't
in-
want to start, we got to plan this stuff out, so how do we do that?
So herein lies the problem. The state has a governor, and that governor sets a policy directive as to what he wants to see happen. And the person who executes that policy directive is the Commissioner of Housing.
Right.
The Department of Housing has put forth their desires, and their desires right now are to see more affordable housing. And they don't necessarily want to support age-restricted housing. They want to see affordable family housing. So whether it's a senior or a 20-something, as long as it's affordable, they're behind it. They really frown upon restricting it for age groups. I have some, I think Barbara Gombach did a very nice job explaining the village concept of senior housing.
Right.
Our two housing units right now are 65 and over, elderly and disabled is the term.
Yeah.
Our average age for both, I would say, is about 73 for both complexes. We do have people that are younger than 65, but not much younger than 65. So, but they qualify because of disability issues that exist, and that allows them to live in those houses. So, at this point, absent some policy directive from the governor's office that kind of supports senior housing, we have to kind of structure our direction of development into these other housing categories.
You do it.
Yes, in fact, the reason I bring up 404 Berlin Turnpike is because this is a public-private partnership to a degree. The developer approached us about working with the Housing Authority to, it's a 200-unit apartment building that's going to be market rate. 40 of those units are designated affordable. So the Housing Authority gets to sign off on the policies and manage who goes into those units. The developer funds the whole
Right.
project. Because of our involvement, he gets to leverage monies from the state of Connecticut that will, allow him to get, get the project constructed.
Yeah.
I think, the Housing Authority's involvement brings 40 units of affordable housing onto the town rolls and gets us to that 10%
Right.
threshold. Everybody's he's looking to get to. So between our 50 units that we're hopefully going to be building soon and the 40 units that this developer is bringing forth, I think we're looking good in terms of bringing affordable housing. Now, the affordable housing on the Turnpike, if a senior is interested in living there, they can live there. The money's, so let's say if it's a $1,500 a month rent, that money will be, their rent will be subsidized to some degree, so they're not paying the full 1,500.
Okay, that's
for the rent.
fantastic.
Yeah.
That's what we need. How about the trailer park? You remember when you and I were on the Board of
Yes.
Finance, we did that trailer park? And
Yes.
it was supposed to turn, the concept was, and correct me if I'm wrong, because we're the ones that did it, because
Yes.
Joe served with me on the Board of Finance in the
Yeah.
90s. And we bought it because Mayor Peters wanted to move those people that were being evicted where CVS was, and we decided to bring it there.
Yep.
Which was the right thing to do.
Correct.
But our plan was to turn it over to the housing authority because the town was not in the rental business. And then it changed, and I guess the town became in the rental business. And it
as-
got deteriorated. So I heard you guys are interested. I mean, is this
We are.
true? And I heard the mayor wants to sell it for 300,000 or something.
Well,
I mean,
I
is
don't know
this
if it's
true?
necessarily the mayor that wants to sell for
I mean, tell us
$300,000.
the truth.
We are interested in acquiring the mobile home park.
Right.
We work with the developer that has the workforce housing project next door. And, again, we supported his efforts to get financing for that project. And we refer requirees that come into our office to his office for people looking for that type of housing. That location, I think, suits itself for, a different style of housing other than mobile home parks. You have roughly 5 acres. There's some additional parcels next door that are, that could probably be acquired and converted at some point into one big parcel and developed into some additional workforce-type housing. I think, if we work with that developer, I think we could do something to that effect. Now, in terms of the mayor didn't, I haven't had any discussions with the mayor on this.
No,
It's
I mean,
mainly
that's the
been-
rumor,
it's
so
been-
let's
yeah.
clarify what
So
actually is going on.
Our discussions have been with the town manager,
Right.
and the town manager gets his price from the assessor's office.
Right, so this came from the assessor.
We are currently in the process of discussing the value of that
Okay.
parcel.
See, and this is why we have this Facebook Live, so we could squall all these rumors. I mean, and that was the rumor, that somebody, people were told, oh, they want to sell it for 300. I said, well, let me ask Joe the actual truth about it.
Price is high, but,
Right.
I'm not gonna.
No,
I'm
but
not
that's
gonna
the assessed value of the
disclose, yeah.
assessor.
Yeah, I disagree with his assessment, but as soon as we get,
I think-
my focus right now is the Knights of Columbus. So as soon as we get the Knights of Columbus,
And we'll work on that.
then we'll work on the mobile
That's
home park.
fantastic.
But,
We have any questions for Joe or anybody? Because we probably do.
Again, you change administrations, you change town managers,
That's right.
there's a different approach to intergovernmental agencies.
That's
and
right.
Who's responsible for what. And, we try our best to keep the lines of communication open. The town manager has been very communicative.
Well, he's excellent.
Yeah, and I think, the mayor delegates this
Yeah.
work to the town manager, and the town manager executes. He has delegated, work to Mr. Mahoney, who has, worked on the community development block grant application. He's currently working on a brownfield remediation application for the Knights of Columbus property. We were not successful in the community development block grant. Hopefully, we'll be successful in the brownfields. But I think part of that lies with the legislature and our legislative representatives being able to pick up a phone and,
Well,
kind of
that's right.
lobby-
I mean, we
lobby
don't
on
have
behalf.
Joe anymore.
Correct. And
Joe was
that's-
an asset. You could pick up the phone and talk to Joe.
He was responsive to, and he was vested in what was happening. So I would have conversations with Joe on a regular basis.
Now, if we do the senior center, community center, because you own the building.
Correct.
I mean, Housing Authority, I mean, people don't realize, the Housing Authority owns the senior center
That's
building.
correct.
And we
Yep.
pay what do we pay?
It's a dollar rent.
Dollar rent.
It's a
year, right?
99-year lease.
That's what I'm
so
saying. It's
you know,
irrelevant.
this was part of the history of the project. It was the old Percival School.
Right.
So when the school was shut down, it was given to the Housing Authority. That property was developed, but the string was that a portion of that building would turn into the senior center. And like you said, we have a 99-year lease. We own the building. The town's responsible to maintain the senior center portion of it. We maintain the rest of it. If the town does move forward with the community center, I think what will end up happening is the Housing Authority will look at the spaces we currently have, including hopefully the newly constructed Knights property. And we'll probably look at the senior center in terms of, moving our operations from Marjorie Moore Village up to the current senior center, and then reconfiguring that space down in Marjorie Moore Village for residences. And at the senior center property, you currently have some space in the Housing Authority side that's used for programming, and that space will then be reconfigured for additional housing. The community area will remain. Commissioner Yurinsik approached the town about getting some monies for a generator for that building, so we could power both the residences and the senior center side in the event of an emergency. So if the town works on that and we generate that entire building, we could still maintain that as an emergency shelter moving forward, even after the senior center is relocated.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
I like that.
I got a question here. When can we expect senior housing development to begin?
Right now, our time frame is the end of 2022. We're looking to break ground, around the fall of 2022. That, of course, is dependent on, the closing of the property, getting the financing closed. The town still owns the property. We have an option on the property. So the town would have to transfer title to us. That's a process. We still have to get the letter from the state of Connecticut DEP for the ground lease, so that has to get executed. That's coming soon. And then once that's done, we go out to bid for the contractor. Hopefully during that time frame, we'll be able to demolish the property and start working the site in preparation for construction. The town planning and zoning has been very helpful, in getting this thing moving. They stick to the rules, which is.
Well, yeah, you have to.
You have to, and it's a time-consuming process.
That's
But
right.
they've been very helpful in that. So I don't anticipate any issues moving forward. The fire district's been very helpful. They've waived a bunch of connection fees and basically allowing us to connect for $1,000.
Yeah,
So
you
that's a nice contribution towards this project.
Yep.
So basically, right now, the fall of 2022, I would say, is we're looking to break ground. And it's probably a year to 18 months for construction from start to finish.
I think it's exciting.
That's
but,
good.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been lagging and, I wanted Joe to come here because of all the rumors that are flying around town and get said that Joe is strictly working on senior housing.
Yes. It's not.
It's a
it hasn't
process.
Been, it hasn't been an easy process.
It's not an
but-
easy process, and that's why, sometimes we got to get the record straight.
Correct.
And I think when it comes to senior housing, politics should just not be involved because it's a complicated situation. And at the end of the day, we all should work together and try to get the senior housing. Agree?
I agree. I think, politics does play a role because of, the nature of the business.
It's always like that, but we tried, I tried.
Correct. And I think, the town's been helpful. I think, our legislative arm needs to, get involved a little bit and move forward on getting some funds, towards this project.
And that's the problem. We don't have Joe anymore. I mean, Joe could pick up the phone and get things rolling for us, and he's done a lot for the housing, he's done a lot for the town. But this is what we have, and I think you're doing a great job, I think, considering, I remember sitting through a council meeting, you were saying, and then you came in front of the Board of Finance, it
Yes.
didn't work out, there was a lot of questions, you needed a letter of credit, and that didn't work out, but you know what, you didn't give up, and you just moved along, and I think we're on the right track.
Councilman Payanessa had a great idea, and I ran with that idea. I think, if we were able to get it done, it would have been.
Yeah, it was a good
would have been
idea,
home
and I remember you calling me up, and I said, I agree, let's get this, but we just didn't have the
run.
votes.
The numbers didn't work, and
We didn't have the
didn't
votes.
work. So, it's one of those things. And I don't blame the Board of Finance at the time, because, again, it's a letter of credit.
Yeah.
If they got to cut the check.
Yeah, that was our concern, but I
Yeah.
remember Joe calling me up, he said, would you be interested to do a letter of credit? I said, yeah, I could see that happening, but we couldn't sell it to the Board of Finance at the
Correct.
time. But you know what, you didn't give up,
Nope.
and that's why it's good to have Joe here. But thank you for coming, Joe.
No, not a problem. Thank you for the
It's a pleasure.
opportunity. Pleasure.
Hopefully we can work together if I get elected.
No, we shall see.
Good meeting you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right.
Seeing you.
Nice seeing you.
nice seeing you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Enjoy the evening.
Before we close out for tonight, let's just segue back to any final Q&A questions we might have for tonight for Sam. Sam, I know we had one question proposing maybe we could do drive-ins at the
We could.
at the fairgrounds, or
We could do it right on Farmington Avenue with the land I was talking about that we're trying to negotiate with the American Legion. So if I get elected, yes, definitely that is a possibility. The sky's the limit.
Yeah.
You just got to have a mayor that wants vision.
Ah.
And right now, that's what my campaign is all about. It's about the future. It's about bringing everybody together, seniors, young families, high school kids, and to make a community type of atmosphere in Berlin, because that's what it was back when I was young. I mean, I'm still young. I mean, back when I had a little family, and we had a community, and there was so much things to do. Somebody asked me the other night, well, what is there to do in Berlin? And I'm thinking, we were at a roundtable discussion, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking, and I said, well, you tell me. And no one could come up with an idea, but we all talked about what was back in the 90s. We had so many things back there. For some reason, we've lost our direction. And I'm not blaming any political leader or anything, but in order to have that vision, you've got to have a mayor and says, you know what? I'm not looking in the rearview mirror. I'm looking in the front glass to move the town ahead. And that's what my campaign is all about. My campaign is about seniors. My campaign is about young families. My campaign is about bringing businesses down so we can keep taxes low. My campaign is about freezing senior taxes so they could stay in their home, because that's important for me to stay in their home. My campaign is to help Joe do more affordable housing, more senior housing in town. That's what my campaign is. My campaign is about setting up a Kensington Village Commission. That is an important commission.
yes,
Okay? That commission is going to take care of Farmington Avenue. It's going to be comprised by businessmen on Farmington Avenue, by people that want to volunteer, and they're going to manage. And yes, I can do that $500,000. I know the mayor is so obsessed with this that I can't do that $500,000, the CARES Act. I mean, he's written so many things online that I don't know what I'm talking about. But I do know what I'm talking about. And we're going to expand outside dining. We're going to help restaurants to do it right.
Yeah.
To do that outside dining right for next year, because that's big. People, it's one thing if you notice during COVID,
Yeah.
people like to eat outside.
they do.
Okay? And we're going to do that. We're going to fix ventilation systems in restaurants, nail salons, whoever, whoever needs, and we're going to use that $500,000 CARES Act. And that's going to be the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to set up this commission. It's an exciting commission. It's a commission that's going to get a movie screen on Farmington Avenue,
Oh,
or
that'd be
an
great.
ice ring on Farmington Avenue,
Yeah.
or concerts on Farmington Avenue. It's going to bring traffic, walking traffic on Farmington Avenue. Just talk. I mean, it's exciting, but
Yeah.
yet then you have a mayor that just talks about what he's done in the past, and you don't, and you know what? In this campaign, you don't hear this vision from the mayor. You don't have this interaction that he's having with anybody, because that's all he does is he just does these little videos. I've been all over I've talked to so many people,
Yeah.
and they're all excited about the plan on Farmington Avenue, because, I mean, think about it. We're going to change these, somebody told me this morning, I was talking to somebody, says, you better have some Christmas wreaths on Farmington Avenue on those light bulbs. I said, I'm going to expand those light bulbs because I'm going to get a grant from the state of Connecticut, because you know what? I'm going to bypass that legislature that Joe was talking about. We're not even going to mention her name, but I'm going to work with Senator Lopes. I'm going to work with the other state legislature, Kathy. I can't remember her name, but Amber Grumback. I'm going to be working with her. I've talked to both of her. I talked to the governor. I've talked to the lieutenant governor. These are the people that I've talked to, and I said, this is what I need, and they've all said, we've got landscape grants.
Right.
I'm going to apply for a landscape grant. I'm going to move those poles up the street, and I'm going to make sure the town takes care of those streets, because if you drive by those poles, those light poles, the trees are growing wild.
Yeah.
Or whatever. You got to take, and another thing I've noticed, take pride in your town.
Yes.
And that's where Mark Kaczynski has failed.
Berlin pride.
So, Berlin pride.
Yep.
So I'm excited. I mean, the election's almost here.
Yes.
And I have total confidence in the people of this community that are going to vote for the future of this town. I really have total confidence, and I believe that Democrat, Republicans, Independents are going to join this bipartisan ticket, and they're going to ignore the noise from the other side. They're going to just ignore that noise because they really don't have a vision for the town of Berlin.
Yeah.
And they're going to come to this bipartisan ticket, and they're going to see the wonderful people that are running, and they're going to say, you know what, these people really care about the town, and we're going to keep the taxes low. We're going to get businesses in town, and we're going to bring a community feeling to this town, and it's going to be an exciting period in this town.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get elected for mayor, move this town forward with the team of councilmen and the team that I'm going to establish with the Kensington Village team and other teams that are going to come in, and we're going to make things happen in this town. And you know what? We're going to be an envy of other watch and see. I have total confidence in that.
Yeah. It's not what a mayor has done. It's what a mayor can do.
Can do. That's right. And
Yes.
the future.
Yes.
And you know what? Mr. Kaczynski's a fine man. He really is. I think he's a fine man. I've never challenged his character, and
Yeah.
I will never do that because I think he's a fine man. But I think when you've stayed in office for a long time, over 6 years, you lose that vision.
Yeah.
You get tired, you lose it, because it's not easy being a mayor. I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what Kaczynski has done. He's lost the vision. He's lost, during Rocky, I think it was Rocky 3,
Rocky 3.
okay? It's
Yep.
called the Eye of the Tiger.
Uh-huh.
He's lost the eye of the tiger. And when you lose that eye of the tiger, you lose your direction. I think that's what happened to Mr. Kaczynski. But what upsets me is that I think he's a fine man. I respect him.
Yep.
And I think you have to respect the office that he holds as mayor. I
course.
really believe that. What I am very upset about, and I don't take it personal, but I think it's an insult to the community, is the way he ended his campaign on a negative point of view.
Yeah.
That flyer he sent to people in the Maine, the flyer that he had to the citizen, that's really insulting what this community stands for, because this
Yes.
community stands for the future, for the future, and we like to move ahead.
Right.
And so I think he really lost the eye of the tiger. What do you think?
I think so. I think bringing this negativity and viciousness to Berlin is just wrong. It's not right. It's not something we need in Berlin. We need to bring the community together, to work together, make things happen together in Berlin. We all live here together. We all have common goals.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, we all want, the mayor did a video the other day that said he supports education. That's fantastic. I mean, everybody should support education.
Of course.
Okay, that's fantastic. But you
Yeah.
know what? You got to build relationships in order to support the board of education.
True.
I built a relationship with the superintendent of schools, with the other past presidents of the Board of Ed. And I've never ridiculed them when they came in front of the Board of Finance. I've always treated them with respect.
Good.
And the problem is didn't happen on the council side. And that's what I'm going to change. I'm going to treat regardless if you agree with me or disagree with me, regardless of what party you belong to, I'm going to treat you with the respect that you deserve.
Yes.
And the same thing on the council. I don't care what party you are on the council, everybody has an equal opportunity to bring ideas forth. Let's discuss them.
Yes.
And let's vote, and maybe we can compromise, because that's how I think we can move the town forward.
Teamwork, compromise, and of course, clear communication.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it, Alex. Alex, you know what? Next Monday, we're gonna have a great time. It's gonna be called
Next
Facebook
Monday.
Live. And we're gonna zoom in to our rally where there's gonna be a ton of people. You
Yep.
and I are gonna be here. We're gonna not enjoy the rally, but that's okay. And I'm gonna tell you the truth, this has been an honor to run for mayor.
Yes.
And my team we've had such a great time meeting all different types of people. I mean, you really don't, I mean, the amount of people we met, I went to the senior center today.
Yeah.
They did a bingo and a Halloween party. We had a great
Nice.
time. Go
Yeah.
on my Facebook page, Sam Lomaglio for mayor, and you get to see the pictures. I'm gonna tell you the truth. A lot of work running for mayor, going door to door, doing
Yes.
a lot of things.
Yes.
But it was a lot of fun to run for mayor, and my team had a great time. We would sit down and laugh and enjoy ourselves,
Yeah.
and that's how a campaign should be.
Definitely.
Positive and have a great time. So I thank everybody for tuning in here. Tune in on Monday, 7 o'clock. We're going to be zooming back and forth
Yep.
to the Italian Political Club where the rally's happening. We have some elected officials that are going to be speaking, and
Yep.
then we're going to come back here and we're going to be talking about the future of Berlin. So